Hello, everybody, and we are live. Thank you for joining Patti and I today. My first segment of my new show, Thinking Outside of the Box. Inspired readings for creative living. Sometimes I transpose the word, so that's why I'm just making sure I said it correctly, get practice in there. And today, oh wow, I am joined by now Patti. How do you say your last name again, so I pronounce it properly?
Oskvarek.
Oskvarek. So Patti Oskvarek is joining me today. I actually met Patti last month. She was a guest on Silvia Colorful Foresight's channel. We were doing predictive readings for the future. My focus, of course, was art, being an artist. And Patti, what was again yours? It was kind of like the outlook for business and financial. I think it was that was your expertise.
Yeah, and I did, and I talked about work-life balance because I'm a work-life balance coach.
Yes.
So I incorporated that into it.
And so Patti is a work life balance and leadership coach. She's a Reiki master, blogger, and podcaster. She likes helping specific also managers and supervisory positions. And I'm going to actually let's say hi to a few people, and then I want you to share everything that you would love to share about your wonderful self with my chatters. And really quick, we have Jackie's Crystal Moon. Hey, girl, what's
Hi,
up?
Jackie.
We have Flowing. Welcome, Flowing. Um, I'm after takeaway and a beer. I'm in and I'll sleep. Okay, my because she's in Ireland, so she's like 5 hours ahead. So it's heading into the night for her. So she's kicking back. Hello, Teresa Hadarian. Thank you for being here. Oh, and there's Karen. Hello, Karen. That's Kara Bear Bard of Cards. She's also a poet and an artist, and she's starting her channel soon as well. So like I said, our community, our family just keeps growing and growing. And there's Fatima. Hello, my dear. Thank you.
Hi.
Blessings to you too. So, everybody, thank you for being here this afternoon, helping me welcome Patti. Her channel, I believe her website, everything is included in the description. I try to be very careful. I didn't leave anything out. And I am going to open the floor to my guest and let Patti share um, what she would love to share about herself with everybody. So
Hi,
thank you again.
everybody. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you, Heather, for
Oh,
having
you're
me.
welcome.
So we said a little bit about myself, and I'll talk a little bit about my journey. I'm Patti Oskvarek from Coaching for Inspiration with Patti, and I'm a leadership and work-life balance coach, Reiki master, blogger, podcaster, all of the things that Heather said. And I incorporate in my coaching Reiki and work-life balance when I work with others, business owners, managers, supervisors, anybody that's struggling in their life with work, with life in general, and being able to really succeed in what they want. So a few years ago, I was at a networking meeting and I had done a presentation. It was on leadership. And this lady came up to me and said, "You would be a great coach." And at the time, I had no idea what a coach was. And
Yeah.
so I started finding out about coaching and researching it. And an acquaintance of mine put me in contact with a business coach. And she gave me some ideas. She said, "You need to go to school, you need to get certified." So at the time, I was still working. So I was taking um, coaching classes to get certified at all times. And the coaching schools that I went to were around the world. So sometimes I'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning doing coaching school
Wow.
before going to work. And one of the things that Heather asked me, is this my purpose in life? And to be that devoted and to have a plan to, I was getting close to retirement with my job. I started young in my job as a manager and supervisor. And I knew that I wanted to do more and I wanted to help people. And also, I wanted to help people that were managers and supervisors that were struggling with everything in their life, because you put your work before everything else and you have no work-life balance. And that's where I was at. I didn't have a coach. I wish I had. I think if I had somebody to talk to about my struggles, that would have been so awesome and so helpful. So that's how it all began, that little story, and why I do what I do. The Reiki came in later on, after I had completed all my coaching and everything else. One day, my husband and I went to Sedona, and I had a friend that was a Reiki master.
Yes.
And she was giving me Reiki to help me to calm down and things like that. I would go and see her and have her give me Reiki because my job was so stressful at the time. This was before I had retired. And that was kind of keeping me to where I could, function without losing it, right? And so we went to Sedona, and my husband, I said to him, why don't you try out a Reiki session? And he had this phenomenal experience that changed his life. And he started telling me, you need to become a Reiki person. He kept asking me so that I can have Reiki whenever I need it. And I'm like, so he worked on me for like about a year and a half. I talked to my friend, and she gave me some tips of what to look for schooling and all of that. And so I incorporated that as well and became a Reiki master. And that's my story of.
And I forgot that you're in Mesa. No, because we're both living. We might even cross paths when we were in Arizona. That's right, because you were in Mesa, and at Crystal Magic. Yep, and you said you're with Reiki. That didn't happen to be Peace Place with Laurel and Michael in Sedona, because that's where I went for my Reiki training. Was they were like the main place, because they were like on the Reiki cover magazines, and they had their ads and things. That's how I learned about them, and the owner of Crystal Magic knew them too, so we were able to get a discount on our classes if we wanted to learn how to do these. So that was 2007, 2000, a little bit more later on, 2007, 2008. Oh my goodness, can't talk. But yeah, was it Laurel or maybe one of her?
No, I went to Southwest Institute of Healing Arts in Tempe, Arizona.
I was looking at their catalog at one point before I think I even started Crystal Magic. I was looking at the I would pick up the newsletter or the booklet at the stores, and I would sit there and go, oh, shamanic, oh, I want to take that class. Oh, because I was thinking about physical therapy too. I just needed a change, because like you said, I wish I could have had, I think a lot of us wish we could have had someone to talk to, someone to be able to help us, especially in my 30s living in Arizona. A lot of people don't realize it's a right to work state. So if a boss decided, oh, I'm going to let you go, there was nothing you could, and unemployment was just so difficult. And, Flagstaff kind of had the lovely little, since it was a beautiful city, they didn't really want it to turn into a city, but it became known as, poverty with a view, unless you were making really good money. And it was a struggle, on and off for most of the years I was there. So I wish then I had known about life coaching, having people do Reiki, having people help with mental health support groups, you know, teaching people how to handle stressful situations, especially at the job place. Because, looking back all these years now, it's just like, wow, I could have used Patty's help back then, and I was in my 30s, So it's yeah, we were talking backstage, and I said, does it feel like it's a fulfillment, like this is like your life's purpose or your passion that you finally connected? And she was like, yeah. So I said, we definitely have to touch base on that one. And just really quick, hello, the lady here who brought us together. Hello, Silvia. This is Colorful
Sylvia.
Foresight. I met Patty through Sylvia's channel. We did a panel for predictions. And hello, Patricia. Thank you for being here. And Karen did also put in chat your channel. So thank you, Karen, for doing that. And let's see, did anybody else have any? So if anybody has questions, for Patty, about life coaching, because when I first started learning about life coaching, hello, Jesri, welcome, my dear. It's good to see you. And there's Ramon. Hello, Ramon. Um, I heard that it wasn't really required to be certified, but I think because it is becoming a well established profession now. Back then, people would be like, life coach, kind of like part of the woo, or people kind of looking at you like you're out there. But now, so many people, and I think one of the forerunners, even though I'm not really crazy for him anymore, but I know Tony Robbins was one of the ones that really initially got people into, you know, his is a little bit more like a tough love, but getting people to start, trusting their intuition, start, what do you want? What do you want to work for? What do you want to manifest? And I think a lot of that movement has just really grown expo exponent. Yeah, I can't talk today. Everybody knows what I'm saying. Um, okay, she's giving us the apple. Maybe you're the apple of her eye, apple for the teacher. Um, Let me see. Oh my goodness, chat's jumping. Thank you, everybody. See, this is my chat. Everyone says hello to each other. Everybody knows each other here. They're always so nice to each other. And let's see what we have here. Karen, I saw a life coach when I was stressed with my job in my early 30s. She was so supportive and encouraged me to sing again to bring joy to my life. Took private vocal lessons for 4 years. Loved it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, that
So
is beautiful.
yes. And for me, that's one of the things that I wanted to do with this new segment on my channel. And it just was just like spirit. Sylvia helped, spirit worked through Sylvia to help bring Patty into my circle because I wasn't sure when to start the segment. I didn't know if I wanted to start it on my own, but I really wanted to do something that was out of the box where instead of focusing on what's my money situation, what's my all the things that yes are important in our lives, but just remembering to what about our creativity, what about ways that we can listen to our intuition, what ways can we start looking at healthy ways of coping, creative ways of coping and solutions. And I'm like, how am I going to do this channel? I don't know when to start it. And then it was just like Sylvia says, yep, welcome, me, here's Patty. And I was just like, you know so just so blessed. So thank you, Sylvia, for introducing Patty and I. We were having a wonderful conversation backstage. So Saskia is here. Hello,
Right?
Saskia. Um, so the things that we were talking about in the back, our intuition. If anybody gets a chance, please go over to Patty's channel. She just had a young lady. I did write her name down
Gaia.
because her name is Gaia, but I think her channel has a longer name to it, doesn't it? Um, the
Oh, the
Awakening of Gaia,
awakening. Hmm.
the Awakening Gaia. And you want to say hi? Okay, just okay, everybody. Here we go. Here's the mama. Here's the female. The one's been one. Okay,
Hey,
okay, okay.
sweetie.
She wants a hug. Okay, so um, Patty and Gaia were having a wonderful discussion about the power of intuition and how some people think intuition is only something that a few of us have, that it's kind of all out there because growing up, most of us are raised that that intuition really is just kind of a what's that word, like when you like black cats being um unlucky, superstition. People think it's just superstitious, it's a wife's tale, whatever. It's especially with established patriarchal religions and stuff, and I'm not knocking, religious, but we're, kind of raised in that mindset that anything that, happens, it's all through, God, and there's no in between. Like they're like we don't possess anything that we can listen to internally from ourselves, which for me is the exact opposite. This is a gift from God, whoever your higher power is, whoever your higher source is, and the power that we all have to be able to tap into, to be able to transform and change our lives. And her conversation, I didn't get to finish watching the whole video, but it was just beautiful. The conversation that Gaia and Patty was having about the importance of intuition. Is there anything that you want to share, maybe with my chatters? No, no, come on now, be a good girl, stay down.
Hi,
Um,
sweetie.
yeah, yeah, everybody, this is my, for someone you know, this is my Ziva. Say hi, Mama.
Hi,
Say
sweetie.
hi. And we were talking backstage, Patty and I, about our kitties and how, this is angelic energy right here. People don't know if angels are real. Here's an example of one right here. Our fur babies. They're the purest form of love, of angelic love. Our babies right here. Even though when they get ornery,
Yeah.
right? And we bang
It's
on doors until we get our attention or we get our food, or we get upset and they take their little claws. Say, remember, I'm here. Right? Alrighty. Time to say bye bye. Oh, I feel bad. She's like purring. She's all happy, but I know if I keep talking to you and if I distract too much from her, she's going to take her nails in my leg. I really don't want that this afternoon. Um, so yeah, intuition. What would you like to discuss about that you shared with Gaia? I mean, there was so much I started to watch with the video. Again, I'll just open it up to you.
okay.
Like I was explaining to Patty, our chatters, our conversations seem to go organically. And, I try not to be too rigid and see where the flow takes us. So, and Jackie's right. Yeah, that's what I love about our tribe is that we are, I'm being this. Yeah, exactly. So many wonderful people. And it opens up channels of communication. It opens up channels of being able to, again, look at our lives from another person's perspective and, well, how did they change? How did they do? How can I maybe incorporate something different? Looking at things from a different creative perspective. And yeah, I would love if you would share any of your insights with intuition, because that was such an amazing conversation. And I still have to
Thank
finish the
you.
rest of it.
So for me, intuition is so important. And I talked a little bit about how when I was a manager and supervisor, when I didn't listen to my intuition, or even in my personal life, when I didn't listen to my intuition, things went into chaos instead of calm.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listen to my intuition, it is really saving me from the chaos. And I talk about how it's real important to listen to that gut feeling, if that's what you call it. Listen to that nudge. Everybody has it come in different ways. For me, it can be a feeling that I know something's just not right, and to deeply listen to it, because when I didn't, I went down the wrong path,
Mm-hmm.
or I let people into my life that I shouldn't have let into my life, where I knew there was something that wasn't quite right, but I didn't follow or back away the way I
Mm-hmm.
should.
Because for me,
And I talk
sometimes
a
I
little
want to
bit,
give, because you want to give people a benefit of a doubt to some of these
right,
people.
you do.
Being empathic and being compassionate and kind, we're thinking, well, maybe this is just ego coming through, So sometimes maybe I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'll let you continue that. But I would love to be able to address what people might consider intuition versus ego, and then, but go ahead and finish. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just
Oh, no, that's fine. I
okay.
was pretty much wrapped up.
Okay.
So Gaia is a scientist, and but she also is an intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exciting hearing her talk about, especially she's like me, you're in two different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you bring them together?
Exactly.
And it was just a wonderful conversation. I hope you can listen to it. And thank you so much for Heather for bringing it up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, my art's been intuitive. My reading's been intuitive. It's such an important part of who I am, and a lot of people in our community are realizing how important part it is of them, and they're starting to learn how to tap into it. And again, like the more we talk about it, the more we tap into ourselves, the energy goes out and it ripples and it has an effect. And
And
even though the world don't look like it right now, but you only see that one half. You don't see the other half that's still building and coming together and trying to transform and make positive changes in the world. So.
and that's one of the things that I use in my coaching. It's not just about asking questions. I also use
Mhm.
my intuition towards how is that person feeling? How is that person, to ask the right questions to help open up what's inside of them with the solution. So that's why my coaching's a little bit unique between using Reiki and using
Mhm.
affirmations and using my intuition.
Nice.
And I
So.
think if we
Oh.
spend more time using our intuition, Heather,
Mhm.
the more calm our lives will be and the more happier we'll be because we're moving in the path that is our purpose and our destiny.
Exactly. And when Patty and I were talking backstage, where I said, COVID, was really tough and hard on a lot of people. And I said, especially people who were in situations that being, home day in and day out, possibly with, an abuser or people who were not well. And they had, like, and I was sharing with Patty, a lot of us were sending, healing energy and prayers to those people. But I said, on the other hand, I go, that was, I think, in part, a big wake up call from spirit, showing us that we needed to take that step back. Um, People started seeing that there was more to life than the 9 to 5 grind, or more than 9 to 5. I mean, people have been literally. My Shan has a book called "Dying for a Paycheck," and it talks about
Mhm.
how people are literally killing themselves for their bosses, for their companies, trying to, whether it's to keep a certain lifestyle or to just be able to keep food on the table for themselves and their family and a roof over their head. And with the shutdown, it really gave people an opportunity to step back and say, oh my God, look what I was doing to my health. I'm
Mhm.
feeling so much better. I'm sleeping more. I'm you know i'm not going out and being exposed to that negative energy constantly, day in and day out. We started noticing that not only were our bodies healing, but nature was healing. And I was telling Patty, it's a reflection, because we are nature and nature is we. I mean, we're all connected. We're a reflection of each other. And that gave us the opportunity. And a lot of people started eating different. They started thinking different. They wanted to start living different. They were finding hidden talents that they didn't know that they had, interests. People were leaving their jobs, wanting to start their own job. I know some of the backlash from that has been like, oh, well, people got too lazy. They don't want to work now. And I don't think it's that. I think
Mhm.
people just want to be paid properly for the amount of work they do, and not be, again, dying for a paycheck, having your health, your mental health. Because when one of those elements of your health goes, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, that they're all in balance. When one goes out, they all become askew, and are and we suffer for it. Our health suffers for it. And so I loved how we were having that discussion about this was kind of like a reawakening, a rebirthing for people to see just how important meditation, holistic healing. People had time to look on YouTube. We started coming together in the YouTube community, the tarot tube, and learning about other people's spiritual perspectives. We started learning about other people's life experiences, sharing our stories, sharing our traumas. I told Patty, my chats, people feel safe enough to open and talk about past traumas that they may not have felt like they could trust or feel safe talking about. And it's just through that one point in time, even though, again, like I said, it looks like the world is absolutely falling apart, but at its core, a lot of us are still all together. We're coming together and being focused. I think part of your coaching is about meditation, learning how to find that balance, balancing. And I'm assuming when you work with people, you recommend making sure meditation doesn't have to be like half an hour of legs crossed, nothing, just even if it's just sitting
Taking
for
a
a
few
few moments.
moments away to
Yeah,
reflect.
there you go. It doesn't have to
Taking
be.
taking a walk.
There you go.
Get away from your desk if you're working. Just taking a few moments for yourself. I talk a lot about, taking a few moments, if that's all you have, to take a few breaths, to pause,
Mhm.
to say some affirmations,
Mhm.
anything that can help calm you down in those moments of really high stress that if you don't, you're going to regret
Mhm.
losing
Deep
it,
breathing is so important.
saying something that you don't want to, that you shouldn't have said in the
Yep.
moment. Journaling, taking a few minutes to write down things that are bothering you at that moment and get out all that ugliness and
Mhm.
then ripping it up. Or brainstorming on a solution through journaling, writing down everything that's bothering you at that particular moment, and then taking a moment and start writing about how can I fix this, or what's the solution to this, or how can I have this conversation with somebody in a calm, productive solution way. Not
Mhm.
saying to not address it. You need to address it, but how to address it in a more effective way
Mhm.
so that both of you can open up and have a candid conversation and hear each other and listen to each other and realize, oh, that's a different way to look at it.
Mhm.
I think sometimes when we're thinking about what we think it is or assuming what's going on,
Assuming. Mhm.
that's where the trouble comes in and the miscommunication comes in. But actually sitting down and talking about, this is what's going on with me, what's going on with you,
Mhm.
and actually listening to explanations, and actually both of you talking it out, saying, well, I didn't mean to come across that way, this is what was happening at the moment.
Exactly. That's what I loved about taking the DBT classes, because it taught you to watch what kind of words, instead of saying like you made me feel like this. It's more like, okay, how can I pull back and say, well, when this was said, this is how I felt. And so for the past, this has been a good, 4 years now, just learning these lessons of how to have that open communication, how to be able to acknowledge and I love really quick too, how you said about journaling. And some people have said to me, well, I open up a book and I don't know when to start writing. And for me, I had that once before too. And it's just like, well, just start writing. Well, today I woke up, I pour myself some coffee, and then if a certain word comes in, pops in like blue. Okay, just write blue. I don't know what it is. Just keep going, and then at one point, as you just start that stream, and just, being relaxed and being calm. Just allow whatever comes to your mind to write it down. It may not necessarily maybe make sense at that time, but
Mhm.
even just the act of that pen to paper or that pencil, or a sketch pencil, or a color pencil in a coloring book, whatever helps you be able to bring your breath down, get your emotions down, get your blood pressure down. And I am such a big advocate on the deep breathing. Visualization is very popular too, but for me to, even before I can visualize, when I know I'm going into anxiety mode, especially, I was at Walmart today, and at one point I had to stop, and Shan was getting something off the shelf, and I'm like, really quick, right there in Walmart, deep breathes in, deep breaths out, because that energy, that anxiety, the energy from other people were starting to, I could feel myself starting to escalate a
Mhm.
little bit. And I'm like, no. And for me, the first two or three breaths, just, and boom, for me, it just automatically, I get grounded where, okay, I'm in my body. I'm focusing on what I need to do. I go in and I do it. And there you go. So the journaling, all of this, whatever works for you, play around, practice with it. Um, and Patty, I want to ask you, for me, in my therapies and in my groups, I know that two of the strongest words, they're small, they're very simple, small words, but they are so powerful, especially what you put after them is I am. Do you have any favorite I ams? For me, it's like I am worthy, I am enough. I like sharing that. Is there anything with an affirmation, with an I am, or that you give your clients, especially when they start going through those moments of stress and worry and anxiety, that they can say, like, at their table? Is there anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I share a lot of different affirmations because, and I made some affirmation cards
Yes.
for work life balance. And, you know, here's one of my favorites. I let go of my old habits and embrace new ones.
Very nice.
And I say no easily. That is something that a lot of people struggle with, is saying no to the things they don't want and saying yes to the things that they do. So if you let go of the things that you don't want in your life, if you're like a go-to person and everybody's always asking you to do something,
Mm-hmm.
really pick and choose what you want. Because if you say yes to everything, you're not inviting the things that you really want in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's that extra stress.
so I say no
So
easily.
easily.
And that takes time and practice.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say no in a kind way. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be no. It can it can
No,
be,
not right now.
in
Just.
in
Mm-hmm.
your personality, your way that you communicate. And just practicing that can really change a lot of things in your life and help you. And I noticed that Care Bear,
Mm-hmm.
she had said, I was a manager, several
Rolled
roles
at once.
once,
Was very
was very stressful, and I didn't set healthy boundaries. And I needed to, at the time, re entering the workforce again soon, stronger, wiser, and not as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
So she realized that that wasn't something that was for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being a manager, it's difficult, it's hard. You give up so much of yourself when you are a manager.
Yeah.
And being able to, if you want to be a manager or supervisor, having the tools to help you deal with the stress and relationships and to be a communication, or a lot of people get into management and supervisor positions and they realize this isn't for them, but they feel stuck. and
Mm-hmm.
they're so unhappy and they're so sad and they're so miserable. But realizing it and deciding, okay, what do I want in my life and how can I make those changes and have an action plan to do it?
Exactly. And I like what Leah says, two words are so potent, the
Yeah,
divine breath. Yes. And I know for, and I'm sure he won't mind me using this example because I saw it too when I was working briefly there. But with Walmart, Shannon worked for them for over 20 years and they kept pushing managership on him. They're like, oh, you would be a great manager. But he saw what was expected of the managers, and managers would have to get on the workers. Well, can't you put this up? Why can't this go up? Can't you do this? Can you get the, and he saw that and he put his foot down and he said, I am not going to take step back. They kept trying, but he kept saying no. He stayed firmly in his position where he knew taking that managership. But some places, people, it's almost kind of like they force it on you to the point where they almost hint, well, if you don't take it, you know,
right,
XYZ could possibly happen. So, yeah, managership, supervisory, um, you know, roles, and again, I think that lockdown really showed people, and knowing when they go back to work too, is like, well, this is going to be, things are going to be, have to be different, or else I'm going to have to find a new job. And I really think that gave people the opportunity to see what their position and what it was doing to them. And I love the fact too that a lot of people decided to start their own jobs. I mean, their own companies, and Alon turned around and said, well, I know how I would prefer to treat my people. And I think it's going to take a little while to see the change. But I think that, again, that one moment, it was like a seed and it's starting to really grow, and people are really starting to pay attention to, you know, there's not necessarily in their bodies, but I think their overall well-being. And when you go into stores now, like Barnes and Noble or any of like local bookstores, you're seeing more books on the shelves about meditation, journaling, people's success stories, how I started my own business, how I took my health into my own hands, different ways of eating, different ways of thinking. And I just love how I see more of those books, because at one time you will walk in and there's all the political books all over the place, and now when you walk into a lot of these stores, there's a few here and there, but you see people's personal stories of overcoming, people, the positivity journals, people, healthy living, healthy eating, more like oracle affirmation tarot books and metaphysicals and working with crystals and the earth energy. A lot of that's now being moved up to the front of the stores. And so it's obvious there's a bigger, the communication's bigger now. It's becoming more, it's not so under the rug. It's not so hush hush anymore. People are having more of a conversation now. It's becoming more, sometimes I cringe at mainstream, but at the same time, it's allowing people not to be afraid and not to speak their truth and to speak what their needs are. And I think as a life coach, what I would love to do, I would love to do something like that moving forward at some point. And what I love, Patty, that as a being a life coach, that you probably do is you instill in people that seed of, okay, this is a card, this is the message, but you have what it takes inside to make that change. And I know chat's jumping, I'm trying to keep an eye on it, but sometimes if I keep an eye and then I lose my train of thought. But um for I'm trying to put the right words. But with being a coach, it's like you're giving people, or you're not giving, let me say, you're you give people the advice, or you give the people the encouragement. It's like, here is what you can do to take your power back. It's not me saying, here, I give you my power to do this. It's me. Let's sit down and how can we find out how we can, let me help you search what your hidden power or what your hidden energy or what your passion or you know what I'm getting at. It feels
Yeah.
like I'm almost kind of like, pulling at straws. I'm waiting for the right word, but it's like that's a beautiful gift that you give to others
Thank
to be
you.
able to do that.
We all have the solution within us. We just need a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of help to get there. And that's what I do. I help people. And I help managers and supervisors because I want them to become better leaders. And we need better leaders. We need people that love their employees, that take care of their employees in ways and help their employees succeed. And there are people out there that want to do that as managers and supervisors. They just don't
Mm-hmm.
have the tools to get there.
Yeah.
They know that that's what they want to do, but they're also being they're being squished in between everyone, and they
Mm-hmm.
have no one to talk to.
Okay.
And I'm here to help to come up with solutions to better communicate and things like that, so that they can have a nice workplace and not toxic,
Mm-hmm.
and that their employees are happy, they're happy, and they get the job done.
Definitely.
And when something is awry, they can talk about it and feel safe talking about it.
Yeah, I think the more we have conversations, and like we were talking about health yesterday, um, we were discussing how holistic medicines are becoming a little bit more accepted into hospitals and into Western medicine. And there are some of us were talking about how doctors and certain healthcare providers don't really want to support holistic. But I told people if we keep going in there and these doctors or patients keep saying, well, can you give me also a referral for a holistic, do you know a good natural path? The doctor starts seeing, wait a minute, my patients are requesting this, maybe this is something I should look into. I want to keep my patients, they're doing, they're taking my advice as well, but they're also looking for a supplement that balances. And if we start showing up in numbers in that way, talking about this, going to our hair care. Well, sometimes you go to a hairstylist, your hair care, and I've had some amazing conversations with hairstylists, but it's like no matter where you go, if there's a way where you can kind of fit in and just kind of start talking openly about, you know, what would be considered like who, well, I think it was just let me just go back here. I think it was Silvia. Um yes, mindfulness. So right now mindfulness is so big that people are using it in journals, radical acceptance. And this is all DBT. So if we start going to our doctors, our hair, I keep saying hair care. Somebody wanting to do a hair salon or do their own business in chat? If so, go for it. For some reason, hair care keeps coming back to me. But of all places, though, beauty salons, places that do massage therapy. Um, I didn't think I could get massage therapy because in the past that's something that you had to pay out of pocket. Now my primary says no. There are people now that my Medicaid and Medicare can cover for physical therapy if I want it, whereas before there wasn't. So now acupuncture, you know, naturopaths are starting to connect more with primary doctors and being able to get referrals. So again, we keep going to our doctors, our professionals in our healthcare, or even into our communities, local groups, and just talking openly and sharing our experiences that really gets the conversation going. I hope I didn't go off on tangents on with that, but sometimes it's like I start here and it's like, nope, I gotta follow to the other end, and I
But
don't
you
want to
know,
over.
Heather, that I volunteer at the hospital doing Reiki, right?
No, I do not. So why don't you share that? Because I've heard beautiful stories about that.
Yeah, so where I live in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
there there's a hospital that allows volunteering for Reiki. So on Thursdays, once a week, I go and I perform Reiki on patients, staff, patients' families that are there that are in need, they're in stress. And patients, I help them bring down their stress level as well as their pain level with the Reiki. With the staff, they come in and they have a 15-minute Reiki treatment, and they can go back to work and feel very calm
Oh,
and
that
relaxed.
is awesome, Patty. Because I have nurses in my family and they work so hard. A lot of
They
these
do.
women, they don't, it's such an
Beautiful people.
unforgiving job. So whenever I'm at the ER, especially if a nurse is having a heart, it may be like a little short with me. I'm like, I let them know still, I appreciate you. I know you're
Mhm.
very busy. Thank you. It's so unforgiving. And for you to be able to give back that way, that's beautiful. Because when I was living in Arizona in Flagstaff, and I had to have an emergency surgery on my appendix, one of my nighttime caregivers says, "Well, I do energy work. Would you like me to do some energy on you while, I'm on duty tonight?" And I just looked at her and I said, "Energy work, okay." I didn't know so that was probably the Reiki. And, I fell asleep right away because they had to give me morphine, but
Mhm.
for my pain. But yeah, so it is becoming, and I think Arizona is awesome for that because there's so much spiritual healing and focus that goes on in Arizona. And I don't know, maybe you agree, Patty, but in Sedona, with the one of the ley lines going through Sedona, I think that energy vibrates out into the rest of the state. What do you think, energy wise? Do you feel that? Maybe
Huh,
why it's such a
I
progressive.
never thought of it. I never thought of that.
I didn't either until just now. That's why it came into my head. So I'm like, well, I'm going to ask her, see what she thinks.
Uh,
But yeah, it's it may be kind
that's
of
it.
like a reddish purple state, but really there's a lot of spiritually minded, holistic, therapeutic, progressive healing with crystals and acupuncture and essential oils. I mean, all of this is just so prevalent. I really don't know of any other states that maybe like Oregon or Washington, so maybe some areas of like Colorado that really focus on that or vibrate energetically like that, like Arizona does.
Wow, that may explain some things.
Because I know where I'm at, everybody would think Niagara Falls, oh, how beautiful, and, one of the natural wonders of the world. But the energy here is so toxic. It's so heavy. I don't live far near. I don't live. I live. Oh, I don't live far from the Love Canal. It's just about maybe 5 minutes, if that, from me, where they had put all the toxic waste back in the 60s, 70s, whatever, or 80s, whatever it was. And
Oh,
so
goodness.
it's just this energy here. We have a major landfill here. The city's falling apart. People, gangs are starting to take control of the city a bit. There's just so much poverty, there's so much physical sickness, you can see it in people, and it's just to the point where it's water. This should be cleansing, this should be flowing. And so for me, you would think, I mean, we're not far from Lilydale, the spiritualist community, but up here, for me, it just feels like, compared New York to like Sedona, or Arizona, even though medically Medicaid and Medicare is a lot more available to people here instead of Arizona, it just seems like there's still that more energetic, natural healing component energy coming from there. But I just really, I don't know. Some days I just get frustrated, and again, I don't mean to go on a tangent. Leah did say here, I couldn't reach to put a plate away. I couldn't walk, but now I'm doing both. Just achieved backstroke, huge for me. There you go, Leah. Keep going. Keep believing in yourself. And just do baby steps, a little at a time. Because sometimes people think, oh, I got to jump into this right away. So when people, if they find that it's harder to get to a point that they want to achieve, what are some of the things that you would say then? What would be some of the positive affirmations for maybe somebody like Leah, or people who are trying to get their health back, take control of their health, and it just feels daunting? I know I've been there. I still am in many ways.
I would take one step at a time, like Heather said, and just think positive thoughts. I am healthy.
There you go.
I am successful. That I don't know why that word came to me, but maybe successful in moving one step at a time. I can do this.
Thank you, Jackie.
I'm on my way to a healthy body. Things like that, just words that come into your mind and are positive. Just repeat them. I'm taking one step at a time and achieving my goal.
They may seem so simple, but when that becomes a regular part, like in the morning with your first cup of coffee or tea or whatever, and just those few moments, just reciting those, for me at times, it's just like, Spirit, show me the next step. I trust. Spirit, show me the next step. I trust. And then it's like, okay, time to start the day, you know. And I love to, I'm just going to start highlighting some comments. If there is 8 billion, if there's 8 billions of people, they will all have their own divine or form of mindfulness. We want that for the mainstream. And then Karen also said, managers are expected to solve problems. When you get problems all day from your bosses, employees, vendors, and customers, it can be super, excuse my nose itching, can be super draining. Many other professions encounter it too. Exactly.
Definitely. And that's why it's so important to take time out to get away for a few minutes. And unfortunately, a lot of managers and supervisors, and I've been there, don't take that time. And you really, really need to step away and reset. If you can, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to get away. And Karen, you're a special person, and I'm so glad that you were in management, and I bet you were a wonderful manager.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I haven't even met her.
We need more people like that.
Yeah, you can feel that energy. Mm-hmm. And she's a mom. You know, she does it all. And
Yeah.
And Silvia wanted to know, Patti, how would you guide someone who is self-employed? And I like questions. So, Chad, if you have any questions for Patti that I'm not thinking of, please, please let us know.
So being self-employed, you're doing it all. And you need to schedule time for you and for family and friends, and actually put it on your calendar and make the time, because we get so focused in our trying to get everything done for our business and succeed, and especially when you're first starting out, you don't have the money to hire a VA, a virtual assistant, and you're doing it all and trying to do things that are automated, maybe that you could schedule out, but really taking the time saying, okay, I am going to take the weekend off. And in your booking system, if you have one, or your actual calendar or diary, pencil in or type in and block out that time. Schedule a coffee date with a friend at least once a month, and do it ahead of time. Schedule things that you enjoy, your hobbies. Take an hour and schedule it in. I'm going to do my painting. I'm going to do my meditation. If you schedule that time in, it can't be booked, and you're making a commitment to do it. And we really do need to do that. Like Heather was saying, in the morning, she spends time. That's a continual habit, and she makes it a priority. It's making things a priority in your life so that you actually do it. and you won't get burned out because you're actually taking that time for you and your family. And unfortunately, we get so caught up, oh, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. Taking an hour away is not going to make it come faster.
Yep, and it's interesting you say because that's what I've been doing. I'll start something and I go, oh, and I should do this now. No, that's later on this week. Relax, breathe, just finish what you are doing now. Go out, watch some TV, stretch, relax, get something to drink, get something to eat. You have time, it will be here. So it's sometimes it's really hard for us because it's that breaking that cycle. It's that mental, it's like if I'm not doing something, I'm not being protected. Some people are raised that way. I know someone in chat or in one of the shows recently mentioned that if we some of us have been so it's been
Conditions.
ingrained in us that if we're not constantly doing something, we're not being productive, and thus, we're wasting valuable time, energy. And a lot of times now we kind of have to rewire our thinking, and once you keep doing that, I think it was Kathy, my counselor, said that it's like after 100 and is it 120 days? No, 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 no. It's after like 30 days, 20 to 30 days or something. Once you start doing something, it becomes habit. It starts
21 days.
21 days.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And Silvia also, they do studies with Schulman resonance, depending on what is happening in the world affects the earth. So that's what the sun gives off. So a lot of people are talking about how that affects us energetically as well. Um, Leah, it's about getting back up again and again. Exactly, Leah.
Yes.
Keep going, girl. You are a beautiful an example of that. And Karen, breathe in, breathe out. I have a tendency to hold my breath when I'm stressed. Yes, or dread at something. I held my breath so much before someone walked in my office. It depletes oxygen to the brain. It does.
Yes.
It makes
Being
us sick.
under that current stress all the time. Yeah, it's so hard.
And a lot of times,
Been there, I know.
if we don't find ways
Yeah.
of releasing this is how disease and sickness builds in our bodies as well. They're starting to finally come forward and start showing, papers and studies saying that there is, yes, a correlation between, not just like stress for like high blood pressure or anything, but the other types of illnesses and diseases in our bodies comes from us really repressing and holding down our emotions. And they're like, well, don't do that. Why you do? Well, it's because the job environment that we're being raised in and that constant social media, always being in our devices, even that energy constantly coming off on us is not good for our health. And so people are trying to say, well, why is people getting sick? Why is there such an epidemic? Well, you know why. This is what's going on. So again, like what Sylvia has said earlier, if like 8 billion people start noticing and start saying, okay, I'm going to do this for myself. And when you change your energy, you go, wow, that can, people can feel that energy, and that can start changing them saying, oh, I walked by this person today, or I was in the store and the energy felt a little different. Well,
Mhm.
that made their mood better, so all different ways. The sound frequency, oops, yeah. Leah says, can we speak about trauma? What do we do with it? What do we do with it? Is it, or what? Okay, I'm not quite sure what you're, can we speak about trauma? What we do with it? Is it what it is? I think I kind of understand. Yeah. So, um, for me, I'm not a healthcare professional. I can only speak, as a peer from what I've experienced. But I'm going to let Patty go because she'll be, because you'll be able to with what your certification is. What you'll be able to, how you'll be able to answer this question.
Well, I'm like you. I haven't been certified in trauma or anything like that. So it would just be my opinion
Mm-hmm.
of,
And
okay.
YouTube knows this. This is YouTube. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Um, Patty and I are not licensed practitioners for mental health, um, but I am a peer, and this is just us sharing our experiences. And it's not to take the place of any, you know, traditional doctors. Always go see your doctor. There we go. Just put that little disclaimer in there. But yeah, that is a great question.
Yes, thank you, Leah. All of us in our lives have had trauma, and certain things will trigger that trauma. And sometimes you don't even realize that it might be something that triggered. You know how there's somebody that you have in your life, maybe at work or a family member or somebody that just something they say just all of a sudden makes you feel anger or feel sadness or feel like you're being, how do you put it, attacked. Realizing those triggers will help you. And when those triggers happen, maybe saying an affirmation, walking away, not engaging in why they're trying to provoke you, and just stepping away and saying, I don't want this in my life. I want to heal from this. And just realizing what possibly is triggering those feelings of whatever's happening inside of you. I hope that helps.
So Leah and them are familiar with my story and how I share what I've been through with my mental health and my diagnoses. And Leah, being a fellow peer, one of the things that I think we can best do for each other is to when how do I um so when I started learning peer advocacy, the most important aspect was to sit there and to be someone that will listen. I know a lot of us want to sit there and, I mean, we've seen some people do it with counselors or ever, that you talk and they're writing and they don't really, they're listening, but they're not listening, or because they're writing down because they want to make sure they have what they remember, what they want to say, what they need to say, what they think that you need to hear. But a lot of times with trauma informed, one of the most important things that we can do is just to be able to sit back and just know that right now we need to focus on this person. We need to know that we are listening to them, that they are being heard. Yeah, I don't know if you have what kind of health insurance you have or coverage, but there are wonderful health organizations that are out there where that they take different types of medical insurance, and you can find a counselor, or there's people in a city that does peer support, and that's peers running their programs. They could be they can be government funded. Like here, it's Western New York Independent Living, and then there's an offshoot here in Niagara County called Independent Living, and that's where peers like myself have gone through, have had certification through New York State. It doesn't cost anything to be able to do this. You just take your courses and you get your certification, and it's a peer coming to talk to a peer. We sit, we listen to each other, we talk, we shared experiences. But the most important thing is just to be able to sit there and listen and know that somebody understands that you may not be the exact same circumstance or experience, but we all come from a trauma informed background. And I think the most important aspect of life coaching, peer support, even friendship, and family, and I think Patty might be willing to agree with me on this, is being present with the person who we're talking to let them know that we're not being distracted, that we're listening to you, we hear you, we see you, and I'm showing this and I'm holding that space for you.
Yes.
And I just pulled a couple cards, Leah. I just was drawn to pull cards for you. And I pulled Lineage of the Rose. And it says here, moved by the goddess. So this is for a lot of us, men, women, touching deep into that. And this goes to our intuition, because the intuition is the feminine aspect of all of us, no matter what gender we are. And it doesn't really even come down to a gender. It's that energy, that divine feminine energy of our receptivity, of our intuition, and trusting that knowing. It says here also on the card, here for this, which means we are here for this. We are here for the healing. We are here gathering together. We sit in meditation, we sit in prayer. It says here also to gather, a soul call. So for me, my chatters in here, and having Patti here, this is a space we are gathering. We are coming together to listen. And in many ways, we are meditating right now because we're sitting here, we're calm, relaxed, we're having a conversation, and we're sharing our ideas and our thoughts. And I love the water, the blossoming, but just really embracing your community. Sometimes not all of our family gets us or understands us, or even our friends. So when you can find that community, or you can find that counselor or that group that supports you, that's that's who you go to, that's who you connect with. And again, I also got use your voice, I got the sirens, and again, tapping into the feminine energy. It says here expansion and freedom. And when you do that, you experience that freedom. You feel that release, the cleansing. I know, was it Silvia? No, Leah. No, I think Leah said up there, it's an energetic cleanse. She was talking about a beautiful cleanse that she feels. And so yes, tap into that cleansing, tap into that. you know um Sometimes even something simple as taking a shower or a bath, and just letting that water, if it's a shower, just imagining that water just flowing over you, washing everything away, and you see it going down the drain. Same with the tub, just soaking, taking in that water, releasing and washing it go down the drain. Simple little ways that doesn't cost a lot of money. um, Things that you can do for yourself. And again, I keep going back to what Patti said. Journaling really is so important. When I got sick in 2018, for a good year, I did nothing but get my notebook in the morning, grab my pen. I was in a rough spot, took a good year, but I wrote almost every single day, first thing in the morning, just a couple of lines, boom, boom. And then when I was done and I had that notebook, I set it aside and I looked back at it later on and I was like, okay, wow. You could feel the energy, you could feel that release.
Mhm.
That was gone, that was off of me. And I said, okay, I release you. And I gave it back to the earth. I said, I'm done. I walk away from this. I've learned my lessons. This was a life experience. It's made me stronger. It's made me who I am. And now I'm releasing it. So, yes, when Patti says journaling is important, oh my goodness, yes, because you're communicating with yourself and you're there for yourself. And it shows that you're showing yourself too that you have self love and self compassion for yourself as well. And I would think, Patti, that's one of your strong points, maybe in your coaching, is teaching people that, instead of looking outside of yourself for everything, that self love's got to come from within first.
Right. And that's why it helps with the the different tools like the journaling, the affirmations, the meditation, looking within and being able to let go and release some of the things that are holding you back, and 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 visualizing where you want to be is important as well, and taking those steps to get there.
Yes. Now, I know before I left Arizona and we were doing Reiki shares for people. I don't know if they still do Reiki shares in Arizona, but this would be where a group of us come together. If anybody needed Reiki energy, we would do it for free on them. And even, while taking classes and doing Reiki shares, people would come and say, what do we need to release? Now, with your Reiki share, with your Reiki, do you like address the if a client has a question, let's say, like, Leah, I'm gonna use you, my dear. So let's say Leah comes to you in person, says, I want a Reiki session. Now, would you say, okay, is there anything particular you want to work on? And so Leah would say, well, I need to release, this pain in my body. I need to be able to get more mobile, and I need to, release this. would that be like an intent that you set before your Reiki
Yes.
session? Yes. So I know
So,
some people do it differently. Not everybody.
yeah. Okay. So I'll explain how I do it. I'll let them know, how the Reiki session's going to go and what they may and may not experience, and that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. Reiki goes where it's needed. But before we begin, I tell them if they want to set an intention, and they don't need to tell me what it is, because I know that Reiki is going to go where it needs to go for them that particular day.
Mm-hmm.
But if they want to set an intention, they can,
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they want to tell me their intention, yes, I will listen to it and everything, and focus in a certain area that they would like me to focus in. But a lot of times I know that Reiki knows their intention or what they need for their healing physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Yeah. It goes exactly where it needs to go, and it does not harm. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people were worried, am I going to harm somebody? What if I do something wrong? Reiki energy, whether you call it Reiki, whether you call it prana, whether you just call it God's source, spirit source. If you don't want to go to God because of trauma, from, religious trauma, then just think of just spirit energy, the universe, that beautiful whitish blue, whatever that light is, when that comes through you and connects with you, there's that energy is there's no design in it that can harm, as long as it's coming through you and it's from a place of healing and love. You can't hurt. There's no way you can hurt yourself or anybody else. And I was sitting here listening to Patti talk, and I looked over at this other deck that I had seen there, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And because we were talking about work, and I was going to put these cards away, and I said, no, just keep them there. I can take care of that later. I'm glad I didn't. I listened to my intuition. Work without attachment. So when you're at work, um, learning how to do that release. For me, working with the attachment with what we're talking about with the workplace is that whatever you're carrying on at work, don't let that become attached into you. You're working, you're doing what you can, but anybody else, what they come to you that might be negative or that might not be, did this get done yet? Do you have time for the, no, you do the work that you know that needs to be done, and then just detach from any other expectations. Just, I'm trying to figure out how to put this in words properly because I know this fits. And it's like when you leave work, try to make sure, and I'm sure Patty, you probably encourage people to do this. When you leave work, try to make sure that you detach from work and leave as much of that home as possible, so that you have that time to recuperate. I also got the card responsibility, taking on only responsibilities that make you grow, that sustain that inner light, that fire. I just love this card. It was so beautiful. I
Yes.
was just like, I love this.
Oh, I love it.
Um, and it's hard to believe. I'm not the biggest fan of AI, but with art and stuff, they create some of the most beautiful art. And so when you learn to detach and you take that responsibility to say, okay, when I get home, I'm leaving this behind. I am not taking this home. I'm going to spend time for me now. And this was the next card too. It was perfect. The calling of the soul. So when you get home, what calls to your soul? Relax. If it's going out into nature, is it picking up a paintbrush? Is it picking up your sewing needles? Is it picking up your camera? Whatever it does that helps you relax, to meditate, whether it's playing with your fur babies, singing with your crystals, singing bowls, whatever calls to you that brings your energy down and helps you release from the day. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah. We are at 3:15. I don't want us to go over too late and keep you too long. Um, Before we go, is there anything else about yourself and your practice that you would just love to be able to share with everybody, what you would like for all of us to take away today, me, myself, and my chatters?
Heather, can I pull an affirmation card for all of us?
Go for whatever it is that you are drawn to.
I just want to share that taking time for you is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And taking time with your relationships is very important as well. They nourish your soul. And taking those few minutes of knowing that I need to stop and take a few breaths, or I need to stop and I need to journal, or I need to stop and just reset. Just think, if you did that every once in a while or daily, how much your life could change and how much you'd feel better,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay, I'm going to pull a card now. All right.
And the card is drum roll. I used to play drums, so a little drum roll. Let's see. Let me see if I can put you on the larger here.
Each day, I am developing positive work-life balance habits. So what does that mean to you? Is that going outside, putting your feet on the ground, and just taking 5 minutes to say, I am blessed?
That's beautiful.
Is that taking 5 minutes to have that cup of coffee or tea and really savoring it? Is that saying I love you to someone? Whatever those little tiny moments that you cherish, take that time. Even the little things matter. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
It could be doing just one little step at a time.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody, for having me and for me to share about myself and about what I do. I appreciate it.
And thank you for sharing your beautiful gifts with us. Again, Silvia, like I was saying in the beginning, thank you so much for introducing me to Patti. She is just amazing. Silvia has some of the most wonderful guests on her channel. I absolutely love how she brings, really the women together, because in the beginning it was the women who held the wise counsel in the matriarchal, societies. The men were important, yes, but the women were the ones that got together and they could feel through things. They could, see things clearly. They could, the wisdom, the knowledge. It's a beautiful collective. It's a sisterhood now. I absolutely love this. So Silvia, keep it up, my dear. Keep doing what you're doing. What you do is so important. Sylvia. Yes. And Karen, thank you too for being here, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry, Earl, we're just ending, but it's so nice to see you popping in. I hope you're having a lovely day, my friend, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. And just really quick before we go, Patti, do you have any lives or anything planned coming up this weekend or tonight on your channel?
Not at the moment.
No? Okay. But again, everybody, please go to Patti's web channel. Subscribe, like if you enjoyed this content. She has a beautiful video conversation with Gaia. I have to finish watching later on, and about intuition. I love this topic, and hopefully maybe later this year I could have you both come on. We really talk about intuition, and how it really, we can incorporate in all aspects, of ourselves. And of course, again, too, as the year progresses, energy shifts and changes. So what we may have discussed today might be discussed again a little bit later, but we could maybe apply it to different things that are going on in our lives and in the world at the same time, because we're ever changing and ever evolving. So and she says, thank you. And the same for you both. Yes, blessings to everybody. And I will be back later tonight at 8 o'clock. Allison and I are still doing our Friday night gig. We'll be talking about spreads and probably doing a few card pulls. So hope to see everybody there. And Jeff and Ramon from Moon Scarab will be joining me again this Sunday and sharing our poetry and our readings. And yes, we look forward to seeing everybody. And oh, really quick, a little announcement. Patti will be back on with me in the beginning of next month with Dance with Angela in April. Yes, I like Angela's energy too. She's lovely. So keep bringing
Angela
on
and I
these
have
wonderful.
a podcast together, and Silvia
Oh,
was on that podcast.
oh, so podcast. Oh, wonderful.
It's
Yes.
called Building Better Relationships at Home and at Work with Angela and Patti. Check it out.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, and they can find that link on your channel, correct? Where they can. Yes. Okay. So make sure check that out, and I'll try. Oh, Jackie, oh my God, girl, it's gonna be like what, almost 2 in the morning your time. This girl, she's in Ireland, so yeah, we. I just appreciate you still being here with us at this hour. Thank you, my dear, and again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your support, and we will see you again on our